having an absolutely fantastic morning, afternoon, or night, whatever it is for you when this video finally reaches you. Also, welcome back to yet another day in 31 days of Halloween. I can't believe that we're almost halfway through the month. This has been so enjoyable for me, you guys, and it's just been so refreshing to connect with you all every single day, read through your guys' comments, create content for you. It's my favorite time of year, and while so many things in the world feel so different, this just feels like home to me. So thank you for being here and for joining us for daily uploads. I really appreciate it. Today's video is going to be one of my last for a little while because I have some really crazy upcoming conspiracy theories, paranormal cases, true crime cases, and all that stuff that's like long, deep diving videos. So it's going to be one of the last, as I was saying, of me reading somebody else's experience, but this one really hit close to home. And I'll tell you guys all about why it has once we get a little more into it, but it's to do with somebody's experience within a haunted house. And it is just really what nightmares are made of. Actually, should I get into it now or after I tell the story? I think I'll get into it after I tell the story. I'm gonna read her experience to you guys, and then I'm just gonna let you guys know why this has been so eerie to both Tyler and myself, and it gives me the literal heebie-jeebies. So with that being said, let's get into reading this experience, and then I'm going to share with you guys why this is so eerie for us in particular. So it goes like this. This story is from when I was in middle school. I just turned 27 this year, and it still haunts me to this day. An event so traumatic that it gave birth to my son a few years ago, and I already know in my heart he will never be allowed inside of a haunted house while living under my roof. I had just turned 13 and was finally granted some freedom in my life. Back to school was much more exciting given the fact that I'd be able to go out with my friends and actually hang out after school. When October came around, it was basically a countdown until Halloween Horror Night in my town. I should probably mention the nature of my town. It's a small, low crime rate, and always deemed pretty safe type of town. Halloween Horror Night was a night where a farmer from our town turned his barn into a haunted house and his land into a Halloween night. There were snacks, a corn maze, games, and then, as I said, the haunted house. My memories from this night are so vivid, it's like a movie in my mind. I couldn't settle on what I wanted to be for Halloween, something I admittedly still struggle with. Same, I seriously have that problem all the time. I ended up settling for a witch. Typical, I know. And met up with my friend Jenny before we went to the Halloween Horror. We met up with our group of friends at the farm. When we got there, we immediately opted for some candy apples and sweets. I remember just enjoying it to the fullest, full of freedom and excitement of what the night would have in store. We headed to the corn maze first and even bobbed for apples. It was playing out like the perfect night. Nearing the end, and when we would be picked up, we decided it was time for the haunted house. The house had volunteers in it, a few people from our town playing the monsters. Though we were told they weren't allowed to touch us, it still made it creepier that it was real people inside the barn. We went in smaller groups. My group consisted of me, Jenny, our friend Felicity, and a few boys from our grade named Gregory and Eli. It was dark inside the haunted barn. Pathways were made with hay. The first half was kind of a typical haunted house, filled with typical haunted house stuff. By the second half, though, nearing the end of the haunted house, we were backed into a corner as a man with an axe approached us. When he got in front of us, he took his hands and rubbed the cheeks of Felicity and I will never forget what he said. "How I'd love to add you to my collection. I'm craving your screams as you beg for your freedom." We were all frozen on the spot. He then ran his fingers over the axe and smiled in a way I'll never forget and said, "Be careful out there. It's a cruel world." Then he walked away, hiding into the shadows as we finished the haunted house. When we got out, we all found it really creepy that he touched our faces. But the boys said what they probably meant was that they couldn't harm us, not necessarily touch us gently. For a few days, I was haunted by the experience and eventually decided to talk about it with my mom. Naturally, she wasn't pleased by the tale and decided to talk to the owner of the farm who'd organized it all. What came next is what nightmares are made of. He was mortified. None of the volunteers had matched his description. He'd only hired 6 monsters, and none of them had an axe or a costume like the one that we had mentioned. It also couldn't have been the owner, as many people have asked, because he was running the ticket booth at the very front and was accounted for all night. He was so distraught and asked if we were certain that it had happened. The police ended up getting involved, and all of us were questioned on what had happened that night. To this day, we have no idea who was in that haunted house or why he did that to us. A deep part of my soul thinks it could have actually been a serial killer, but maybe I just have a crazy imagination. Either way, my children will never go to a haunted house, and nobody will ever find me in one again. When you think about it, you really never know who's the true monster under that Halloween mask. And that's the end of the story. Now, one thing that I want to make really clear when I read these stories, you guys, is that I don't know these people personally. I don't know if this experience is real. However, I know that things that have happened to me in my life can be deemed very unbelievable, and so I'm in no position to say that somebody didn't experience this. And if this was a true experience, it's absolutely bone-chilling to think who that individual was. Even if it was somebody playing some sort of a sick joke, these are 12, 13, 14-year-old kids, and it's terrifying to think what the intention behind it was. Now, as I said at the beginning of the video, there's a whole reason that this kind of hit close to home for us, and it kind of dates back to when Tyler and I first started dating. Now, as you guys know, my entire life's been consisting of the paranormal, and I've always loved scary movies and haunted houses, even though for the most part, 90% of haunted houses I've went through, I've like held on to someone and kind of like peeked through my fingers. I've enjoyed the thrill of it, and I used to ask Tyler when we first started dating if he'd want to go to Niagara Falls and go through some haunted houses, and he basically said that he will never go through a haunted house, and he's actually never went through a haunted house in his entire life. And the biggest reason for that is that he says you never truly know if they're actors or not. Well, yes, 99% of the time, I'm sure almost 100% of the time, they are paid actors. There's still that scary thought of the fact that they're all dressed up, and who really knows what they are, who they are, or why they took the job, or what they're doing in there. And I never looked at it like that until I got a little bit older and I started really thinking about it and just thinking about people in the world, and I was like, wow, that is kind of a creepy thing to think about. Because honestly, you guys, one of the places that I used to beg Tyler to go to was Halloween Haunt at Canada's Wonderland, which is in Toronto. And I used to tell him all the time, it's so much fun. There's creepy monsters and people running around the entire amusement park, and you know, you could be standing there taking a loving picture and this person comes and jump scares you. And he was like, that sounds like what my worst nightmares are made of. Because what if somebody from the outside comes inside of the park, winds up dressing up, and isn't part of the act? So hearing this story really gave me the heebie-jeebies, and I really want to know what you guys think of it. Do you think it's true? What are your thoughts and opinions? And I mostly want to emphasize that in anything in life, no matter where you are, just exercise safety and make sure that if you ever feel uncomfortable, you seek somebody to talk to about it, and just make it known if you are in a situation similar to this, especially if you're young. Tell an adult. It is so important that adults are made aware, and even if it is just you being a little bit nervous and that person was part of the act, I think it's important to note that that made you uncomfortable. If you're going into a haunted house and it says that they cannot touch you and the individual touches your face or anything for that matter, you need to make that known to the establishment or whoever is running or organizing that event. So I think it's a cautionary tale just for standing up when things make you uncomfortable and scare you, and also realizing that, you know, we want to believe that everything in life is pure and exciting, but there are people out there who have opposing intentions. So just be really careful, you guys, and I'd love to know what you guys think of this particular experience. With that being said, that is it for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. As I said, this is going to be my last for at least a little bit of me reading somebody else's experiences. I'm ready to get into some cases and conspiracies and paranormal investigations and all that juicy stuff as Halloween is quickly approaching. So make sure you guys let me know down below if you have any video requests for upcoming videos. If you guys are new to my channel or you are just not yet subscribed but you do enjoy my videos, I would absolutely love it if you would go ahead and click that subscribe button, and please give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Remember, my loves, do all things with kindness. And until next time, I love you.